The Minister of Finance and Coordination The Minister of Finance and the Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, has assured stockbrokers and investors that the federal government review of the capital gain tax regime will yield outcomes that serve the interest of Nigeria and its people. Edun gave the assurance during the closing gong ceremony held to mark the listing of the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Murphy Real Estate Investment Fund, MREIF, Series 2 on the Nigerian Exchange Limited. Welcome to Business Point, where we extract the Nigerian economy and the government policies. I am Kike Lomo Okere. Concerns had been raised by market stakeholders over the impending implementation of the revised CGT policy, scheduled to take effect from January 2026, amid its fear could dampen investors' confidence and discourage foreign participation in the equity market. Under the new policy, capital gains from the sales of the share or equity instrument will attract a tax of 30% for large companies, up from 10%. For individuals, gains will be taxed at the applicable personal income rate. The exemption threshold for share sales in Nigerian companies has also been raised to 550 million naira within any 12 consecutive months, provided the gains do not exceed 10 million naira. Addressing stakeholders, the Coordinating Minister of the Economy and the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, says the federal government is concerned on the capital gain tax. It's reviewing, it's consulting widely to ensure the outcome gives Nigeria an optimal result. Speaking on the newly listed MREIF Series 2, he added that with this listing, it is possible for ordinary Nigerians to participate in the saving and investment culture that supports national growth, particularly in the housing sector. At 100 naira per unit, MREIF allows everyday citizens to invest, save, and contribute to building the economy using local resources. He says the MREIF Series 2 is designed to provide long-term, low-cost mortgage financing for home buyers and offer developers offtake guarantee to accelerate housing delivery. Group Managing Director and CEO of the NGX Group, Temi Popola, reiterated the importance of a well-balanced fiscal policy, noting that the capital market is a key driver of wealth creation. Policies such as capital gain tax must strike a balance between raising government revenue and sustaining investors' confidence. NGX remain committed to supporting the renewed hope agenda by mobilizing private capital for sustainable national development. Also speaking, the NGX chairman, Ahunsi Inuigbe, described the MREIF listing as a defining step towards building a prosperous and inclusive Nigerian economy. Chief Executive Officer of the NGF, Jude Chiemeka, noted that the fund demonstrated how the capital market can provide practical solutions to national challenges, creating wealth and addressing housing needs. Managing Director, CEO of Murphy, Dr. Armstrong Tangang, added that the MREIF will make home ownership more accessible to millions of Nigerians while stimulating local economic growth across the housing value chain. Responding Edun assurance, the doyen of the stockbroker Sam Ndata cautioned that the market remains highly sensitive to tax-related policies. The chairman of the Presidential Fiscal Policy and Tax Reform Committee, Taiwo Oyedele, has clarified that the Nigerian new capital gain tax framework will not retroactively tax investment gain made before 2026. This is according to the statement released by the committee detailing key provision of the CGT reform set to take effect from January 1, 2026 under the proposed Nigerian Tax Act 2025. At the heart of the clarification is a cost-based reset and a grandfathering clause designed to preserve old gains while applying tax only to new profit made after the reform takes effect. His statement comes at a critical time for the capital market, which has recorded steep decline in recent days. The Nigerian exchange lost a staggering of 6.3 trillion naira in market value over 7 trading sessions, including 4.7 trillion naira plunge in a single day. According to the market analysts, and investors are uncertain over the CGT reform. They say it has been a major trigger for the widespread sell-off, as many feared they would be taxed on unrealized or historical gains. According to the committee statement, the CGT reform introduces a significant change in how the tax will be calculated for investment made before 2026. Specifically, the cost base or reference price for the calculating capital gains will be reset to higher of the amount, the actual amount paid to acquire the asset or the asset market value as of December 31, 2025. This ensures fairness and prevents the application of the new rule to gain accrue before the new law takes effect. Taiwo Oyedele says this means investors who bought shares at a lower price in previous year and saw their value rise will not be taxed on those historical gains. Instead, taxation will only apply to appreciation in value that occurs after 2025. The mechanism is intended to protect long-term investors from being penalized for holding assets over time and reward patient capital without imposing a tax burden on past growth. This means that the investors' confidence is in the capital market is highly sensitive to tax policy changes, and fear to retrospective taxation could have triggered market volatility. The cost basis reset and grandfathering provision effectively address these concerns by ensuring that only future gains are taxed while historical profits remain untouched. The clarification is particularly important now, given the current bearish sentiment in the Nigerian capital market. In less than 2 weeks, the NGX has shared trillions in value with investors exiting the position in droves. Many citing ambiguity around the CGT reforms. This timely intervention from Oyedele and his committee appears to be aimed at calming nerves and reassuring the market that the reforms are designed to be fair, transparent, and not retroactive. Nigerian successfully $2.25 billion Eurobond issuance has reignited global investors' confidence, reflecting new optimism in country's economic reform, fiscal discipline, and monetary stability as it re-establishes its presence in international capital markets. Nigeria successfully raised $2.25 billion in a dual tranche Eurobond issuance last week, making a major return to international capital markets. The 10-year and 20-year bond were oversubscribed and priced at 8.625% and 9.125% respectively, tighter than the initial guidance. The debt oversubscription is a reflection of a robust investors' confidence in Nigerian fiscal and monetary policy reform and improving risk sentiment towards frontier markets. For other stakeholders, raising investors' appetite for Nigerian debt has been buoyed by the Central Bank of Nigeria FX reform, improving fiscal transparency, and rising market confidence. Investors across the globe are swooping on Nigerians' assets as the impact of the CBN reform in the financial sector spread to key sector of the economy. Nigeria is finally getting a favorable nod from investors as seen in the successful issuance of $2.25 billion in dual tranche Eurobond last week. The Eurobond maturing in 2036 and 2046 marks the largest ever order booked achieved by the country, underscoring strong investors' confidence in its microeconomic policies and fiscal management. The 10-year with $1.25 billion bond maturing in 2036 was priced at a coupon of 8.6308%, while the 20-year with $1.10 billion notes due in 2046 carried a coupon of 9.1297%. The transaction concluded last week attracts orders exceeding $13 billion, reflecting broad-based demand from investors across multiple jurisdictions, including United Kingdom, North America, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. The Debt Management Office says in a statement, Nigerian investors also participated in the Eurobond offers, signaling domestic endorsement of the government's reform agenda. Before the issuance, Nigerian investment image has soared, prompting positive feedback from the global analysts. Also, Nigerian sovereign risk spread has fallen to the lowest level since January 2020, erasing the premium accumulated during the pandemic and subsequent strain on its economy. All these are deliberate efforts to woo investors and sustain capital inflow to economy. The Eurobond will be listed on the London Stock Exchange regulated market, the FMDQ Security Exchange Limited, and the Nigerian Exchange Limited. Market participants says the listing is expected to enhance liquidity and attract a diverse investors base, reinforcing Nigerian status in the global bond market. The governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Olayemi Cardoso, says Nigeria will naturally attract investors if sustained sound macroeconomic fundamental and policy predictability. Speaking at the Bank 2025 Executive Seminar, Cardoso stressed that economic stability remains central to advancing the nation's policy framework through inflation targeting. The CBN governor reaffirmed his commitment to transparency and accountability, saying the days when people relied on personal connection to get approval from the bank are over. Cardoso also cautioned against returning to excessive borrowing through ways and means advanced from the CBN, describing previous level as frightening. He called on all stakeholders to take ownership of sustaining ongoing reforms, noting that economic recovery requires collective responsibility. In a remark, the Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anyete, commended the synergy between the fiscal and the monetary authorities, emphasizing the need to cut energy costs and streamline business registration process to boost productivity. The minister identified Nigeria's challenges as likely structural than cyclical, stressing the importance of coordinated policy responses. She highlighted the joint development of the disinflation and growth acceleration strategy by the Ministry of Finance and the CBN as a blueprint for long-term economic transformation. She added that the DGAS provides a comprehensive framework for non-inflationary growth and structural transformation, ensuring Nigeria remains the attractive destination for investors. All right, let's take a quick short break now. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's Business Point, where we extract the Nigerian economy and the government policies. The Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation has reiterated its directive to banks to resolve all customers' complaints within 2 weeks, warning that unresolved issue after the deadline may escalate directly to the corporation for intervention. The NDIC says the measures is part of its renewed effort to protect depositors and strengthening public confidence in the banking sector. Speaking at the NDIC Day during the ongoing Lagos International Trade Fair, the director of the Claims Resolution Department, Olawale Sule, who represented the NDIC Managing Director and the Chief Executive, Oludare Sunday, emphasized that one of the corporation's key responsibility is to ensure that customers' issues are promptly addressed. He explained that the directive covers complaints such as unresolved ATM dispense errors, unauthorized transaction, and other account-related issues. Sule also reminded the public that only banks duly licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria and insured by the NDIC are covered under the deposit insurance scheme. He urged Nigerians to always verify the status of the financial institution before depositing money, noting that the full list of the insured banks is available on the NDIC website. Sule further advised the public to be wary of so-called wonder banks that promise unrealistic returns, stressing that the NDIC office across the country are open to assist members of the public in confirming the legitimacy of any deposit-taking institution. He recalled previous instances of public confusion about the licensing status of some financial platforms, noting that the NDIC goal is to ensure transparency, depositors' protection, and lasting confidence in Nigerian financial system. All right, before we call it a wrap today, let's take a quick look at the Nigerian stock market. The Nigerian stock market suffered a major step back on Tuesday as bearish sentiment intensified, wiping out of 4.64 trillion naira from investors' wealth in what analysts describe as the worst single-day decline since 2010. The all-share index of the Nigerian Exchange Limited plunged by 5.01% to close at 141,327.30 points, dragging market capitalization below 90 trillion naira, marking to 89.88 trillion naira. The massive sell-off was driven by steep decline in bellwether stocks, including Dangote Cement with minus 10.00%, MTN Nigeria with minus 10.00%, Boa Cement with minus 10.00%, Adel Holdings with minus 6.67%, and Guaranty Trust Holdings Companies with minus 7.69%. Only 4 stocks managed to stay positive amid the market rout. Trading activity surged with volume of 80% to 656.95 million units and value raising to 158% to 29.39 billion naira. FBN Holding led the volume while Geregu Power led the value. All major sectors closed negative, led by industry goods with minus 8.55% and banking with minus 7.27%. Analysts at the Cardinal Stone and Carry Asset Management blamed the crash on large institutional sell-off and weak investor sentiment, describing it as a major de-risking move by big investors. All right, this is where we'll call it a wrap on Business Point today. Join me again tomorrow on Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV and 276 on Star Times. To stay connected, kindly follow us on all our social media platforms at Global TV NG. Till I come your way again, I am Kike Lomo Okeri. I celebrate you all.